Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. Today is Thursday, October 13th, 2016, and this is my Week 6 video for my lineup strategy for GPPs, for Fanduel, as well as DraftKings. Week 5 was a very successful week. You know, counting the wins as blessings. Make sure you check out the recap video I put out on Monday. And I hope y'all got to see the Week 5 video, The Black Hole. Had some good plays on there. Ezekiel Elliott, Martellus Bennett, Amari Cooper. It was just overall a great week, a blessed week. And I'm looking forward to, this Week 6 on Sunday. I'm really excited about it. And hopefully I can continue to have some more success, this week. So, it's a new day. A new week for the NFL, a new opportunity to be great, and a new opportunity to be the best. So with that being said, I'm going to get started with this Week 6 slate. And to start off this slate, start off talking about, my favorite quarterback wide receiver stack that I like for this week. I got two words for y'all. Who that? As a Falcons fan, those are words that really frustrates me. Who that? Who that? So I'm saying who that because if you're a football fan, you know what that means. That's what them crazy Saints fans, that's what they like to say. But for DFS, I like Drew Brees this week. Drew Brees, he's my favorite quarterback this week for GPPs and tournaments on Fanduel. Now the question is, who am I going to stack him with? Who that I'm going to stack him with? Now, if I ask you guys out there, who will you stack Drew Brees up with? I know a lot of you all would say Brandon Cooks, his number 1 option, or maybe even Willie Snead, a number 2 option. But for me, I have a GPP mindset, and I don't want to use either one of those guys. My favorite stack for this week is Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, the rookie, for 5,400 on Fanduel. Now, let me give you my reasons why I want to stack him with Michael Thomas instead of Brandon Cooks or Willie Snead. Drew Brees, he's a great quarterback, but I know he spreads the ball around. He passed that thing around to like 6 or 7 receivers every game. He might pass for 400 yards, but he distributes the ball kind of evenly most of the time with receivers and tight ends and running backs. Now, for DFS. For a DFS perspective, you have to look at the pricing. Cooks is let me look at this. Cooks, I believe, is 7,500. Let me find it real quick. Sorry. Yeah, Brandon Cooks is 7,500 and Willie Snead is 7,000. Now, for me, I think they both have both of those receivers for the Saints. It's hard for me to identify which one would have like a monster game. I think Snead could have a monster game as well as Cooks. And I'm not going to pick both of them. So I don't want to be in a position where if I pick Cooks and then Snead go off and Cooks don't do nothing and it's like I wasted $7,000 of salary, or vice versa. I pick Snead and then Cooks go off and I waste $7,000 in salary. I don't want to be in that position, It's just kind of hard for me to pick which one is going to have a good game. So with the GPP mindset, I thought the next best option would be Michael Thomas. His price is $5,400. You saving discount. You saving like $1,500 to $2,000 with picking Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, he's no slouch. And from a GPP perspective, everybody who picked Drew Brees, they're going to pick Cooks or Snead to stack them up with. Nobody's going to pick Michael Thomas. And the last two games, check Michael Thomas's game log. He's had double-digit fantasy points. He scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 games. And he has had 20 total targets combined the last 2 games. September 26th, 11 targets, 7 receptions, 71 yards receiving. And October 2nd, 9 targets. So the last 2 games, Brees been looking for him. And at a discounted price, at 5,400, he's the guy that, I'm going to stack him up with, in GPPs and tournaments for this week. Now, if you have a better feel about the Saints, if you have a better feel about Cooks or Snead, definitely the smarter thing to do and the more logical thing to do would be to stack Drew Brees up with Brandon Cooks, his #1 option, or Willie Snead. But I'm taking a different approach, and I'm stacking him with Michael Thomas. That's what I'm doing. Now, let me talk more about why I like Drew Brees this week as a GPP play. The game this week is against the Carolina Panthers. It's at home in New Orleans. Historically, Drew Brees, he has been a better player at home in the Superdome compared to on the road, playing in other environments. So far for the 2016 season this year, he has a small sample size of 4 games, 2 games on the road and 2 games at home. If you look at his game log, his statistics for his 2 games on the road at the New York Giants on September 18th, 263 passing yards and 1 touchdown. Not very really good numbers. His other road game, October 2nd, at San Diego, 207 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So both of his 2 road games this year, he's passed for less than 300 yards, and he only got 3 touchdowns combined in those 2 road games. Now you look at his home games. Opening week, September 11th, against the Oakland Raiders, 423 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And then his second home game against my Atlanta Falcons on September 26th, 376 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. So in 2 home games this year, he's passed for 7 touchdowns and close to, let me do my math real quick, close to like 800 yards passing, or more, about 800 yards passing, 899, no, 7, yeah, 799 yards passing in his 2 home games. So you look at that small sample size, 2 home games, 799 yards passing, 7 touchdowns. Two road games, less than 500 yards passing and only 3 touchdowns. And throughout his career, he's been known to play better at the Superdome. Another thing that why I like Drew Brees this week, this game between the Panthers and the New Orleans Saints is very, very important. The Saints are 2-3. The Panthers are 1-4. The Falcons are about to run away with this division. So both of these teams need this win to keep pace with the Falcons. And if the Falcons lose against Seattle, they'll definitely keep up pace with the Falcons. So it's a very, very important game. So I expect them to go out there and put up a good performance. Now, another thing I did researching, my Drew Brees pick. Check the 2015 season. The game on last year between the Panthers and the Saints. The game was in New Orleans. It was late in the season last year. Just check that game. The final score is 41-38, 79 points, total points. So I definitely think a lot of points are going to be scored. A lot of people this week are going to look to Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. But don't forget about Drew Brees. He's coming off a bye, a game of high importance. Drew Brees, he got a couple 5,000-yard passing seasons under his belt. I'm just confident about this. I know I got to finish up the video, but this is my #1 stack. Drew Brees, again, I'm not sure who to stack him up with between Cooks and Snead. So I'm going off the board with Michael Thomas. So that's my favorite stack for week 6. I spent a lot of time on that, but quickly I'm gonna go over my second favorite stack for this week on Fanduel for GPPs and tournaments. Now, some of y'all may not be feeling me with this, but I'm confident about it. Cam Newton and Greg Olsen for the Carolina Panthers in this same game. Now, check that game last year in 2015. The Panthers won 41-38. Cam Newton passed for 331 yards and 5 touchdowns. Both of these defenses have been struggling this year. A lot of people not going to maybe scared to pick Cam Newton because he's coming off a concussion. But, this Saints defense, I'm confident. Cam Newton's the MVP. I'm using him with Greg Olsen in my second lineup. And I know it's a possibility that Cam Newton may not play. I know this is going to blow y'all mind. If Cam Newton don't play, I got a third lineup with Derek Anderson and Greg Olsen. This game right here between the Saints and the Panthers is my biggest target for daily fantasy. If it's a defensive struggle, then I'm not going to win any money. But I fully expect the point total to be at least 60 points. Drew Brees, again, favorite stack. But if in Cam Newton and Greg Olsen, my second favorite stack. If Cam Newton don't play, I will play Derek Anderson. I will play it, and I'll post my results online for y'all to see it. I'm gonna play Derek Anderson and Greg Olsen as my second lineup. Derek Anderson, he priced at $5,000. That's great value for a starting quarterback going up against a poor Saints defense. And if I put Derek Anderson in there, it just creates so many different possibilities for me to put other greater players at other positions. So that's about it for my stacks for this week. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas as the first one. Cam Newton and Greg Olsen as my second one. And if Cam Newton's out, Derek Anderson and Greg Olsen for my third stack. So yeah, that's about all I have for the stacks. But I want to mention another thing about the Drew Brees pick. Now they're going up against the Carolina Panthers. Remember what Matt Ryan did to the Panthers in Week 4 at the Georgia Dome. 500 yards passing. Julio Jones, 300 yards receiving. It's the same team. It's the same Panthers teams, just 2 weeks removed from that poor defensive performance. So if if Matty Ice can do that against the Panthers defense, what you think Drew Brees gonna do? Let me move on. I think y'all get my point about Drew Brees. All right. So now I'm gonna go position by position. Some of my favorite plays outside of the stacks. So starting off with the wide receiver position. My favorite wide receiver for this week. I know it's not a popular play, and I know he's been playing pretty bad this year. But DeAndre Hopkins for the Houston Texans. A couple weeks ago in Week 4, he really messed me up with that one reception for 4 yards performance. But last week, Week 5, he had 1 touchdown, 56 yards receiving. But I don't think it's Hopkins. I think it's more of Osweiler why Hopkins haven't been that productive yet so far this season. But the reason I like Hopkins for this week is mainly because of the matchup. The Indianapolis Colts defense. According to Fanduel, their rankings, they're 30th overall in defense. And what really spikes my interest, they're 28th versus the pass. DeAndre Hopkins, his price is $8,100. It doesn't match the type of production that he's been having so far this year. But I don't think a lot of people are going to pay attention to Hopkins. So I definitely like Hopkins as one of my favorite wide receiver plays for this week, Week 6 on FanDuel at $8,100. Again, a lot of people not own him, because he hasn't had those big games yet. He's kind of been struggling. And I think it's just a perfect opportunity to pick him, this week because he's going to be low owned, and I think he makes for a great GPP play. Antonio Brown at $9,700. He's in a good spot, but his price tag is kind of high. So you'll have to do some maneuvering with your lineup if you use Antonio Brown. But I think you could really find value in other places. T.Y. Hilton, he's shown a lot, the last couple of weeks. If you look at T.Y. Hilton, I think he's a good GPP play. Every game this season, he's had double-digit targets. In his last 3 games, he's double-digit fantasy points. The game is played at where the Texans play, where You don't have to worry about any weather concerns. J.J. Watt's not there, so T.Y. Hilton, he could be a good play. Might be kind of chalky because of how he performed on last week. Y'all know I got to give my insight on my Falcons and Julio Jones. This week, I think, is another week to fade him. The matchup just isn't good. Julio is a great wide receiver, but the Seahawks are #1 ranked in defense and they're second versus pass, according to the Fanduel statistics. So at 8,500, I think Julio is a good player to just fade this week. I won't have any exposure to Julio. Doug Baldwin is a good play. Seattle coming off a bye. The Falcons, we're not that great in pass defense. Actually, according to FanDuel, we're 26 versus the pass. So Doug Baldwin, I think he's a good play for this week. The two Raiders receivers, Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, I'm not really interested in them because I believe Kansas City has a cornerback named Marcus Peters, I believe, and he's supposed to be pretty good. So I'm not messing with the Raiders receivers this week. Kelvin Benjamin, he's good if Cam Newton plays. If Derek Anderson plays, then I don't really like Kelvin Benjamin. But if Cam plays, Kelvin Benjamin is a great play at wide receiver. I'm telling y'all, look at that game for fantasy value. The Panthers versus the Saints. I'm not messing with Colts because, he's going to be kind of chalky. And I don't think he's going to do what he did last week 2 weeks in a row. Jarvis Landry, when I initially made my lineups, he was like my top wide receiver. But it's Ryan Tannehill. He's been playing kind of bad lately. And then another thing in Miami, you really have to pay attention to the weather. If it's windy or if it's kind of rain in the forecast, that kind of messes up, the wide receivers' value and the passing game value. So weather is something you really have to pay close attention to. But Jarvis Landry, if the weather is right, if the weather is nice, going up against the Pittsburgh defense that's ranked 30th versus the pass, and then his price is dropped below 7,000. He's 6,900. Jarvis Landry could be a very, very good play this week. I had him initially, but I have some concerns about the possibility of the weather, so I kind of moved to DeAndre Hopkins as being my #1 receiver. But I'm telling y'all, pay attention to Jarvis Landry. He could definitely go off this week. And any other receivers I feel like mentioning. Let me talk quickly about my value and sleeper plays at the wide receiver position. Again, I already mentioned Michael Thomas for the Saints, 5,400. Great value. Devontae Adams of the Green Bay Packers at 5,400. Good value play. Brandon LaFell of the Cincinnati Bengals at 5,300. Going up against the New England Patriots. He's a good value play, but there's also a narrative behind, picking Brandon LaFell. A lot of you already may know LaFell, he played for the Patriots the last 2 seasons. And if Bill Belichick, comes up with a defensive scheme to stop A.J. Green, Andy Dalton, he's going to have to find other options. And Brandon LaFell, he's the second #2 wide receiver. And let me see real quick. Last week against the Cowboys, he had 11 targets, 22 fantasy points. He got in the end zone twice. But I feel it's going to be a little extra motivation for him to playing against his former team. So as a sneaky play and a value play, Brandon LaFell of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against his former team in the New England Patriots. I'm telling you, definitely consider that. Meredith for the Chicago Bears, 5,400. Value play. Rashawn Matthews of the Tennessee Titans, value play. Torrey Smith, 5,300 of the San Francisco 49ers. Good value play. I feel that all the wide receivers and tight ends value slightly increased with Colin Kaepernick being the starter. Cause I think Blaine Gabbert, I think he's horrible. I think Tim Tebow is better than Blaine Gabbert. And my last value play, this is a very, very important value play for this week at wide receiver. My top value play, it's really my top value play on FanDuel and DraftKings at wide receiver. And that's Chris Conley of the Kansas City Chiefs for 4,600. My folks who are Georgia Bulldogs fans, y'all know about Chris Conley, but going up against the Oakland Raiders defense that's very, very poor, Kansas City can have a lot of value. I'm not making many lineups, so I'm not going to pull the trigger and pick Alex Smith and Macklin and Kelsey and just all the people on the Chiefs. But you definitely have to consider their defense if you're making a lot of lineups. And for great value, a lot of people don't know about this guy, Chris Conley, Kansas City Chiefs, 4,600. Last week, 70 yards receiving, 7 targets. He may not have a monster game, but you have to find those value plays somewhere. And I really, really like Chris Conley as a value play this week for FanDuel and DraftKings. I think on DraftKings, he's 3,100. Now, I'm going to move on to the running back position. For me this week, I'm spending up for running back. And it was kind of easy for me. Like, I didn't really go over too many options. My favorite running back for this week is LaShawn McCoy for 8,200. I have 100% exposure to LaShawn McCoy on FanDuel and DraftKings on every single lineup I have. He's in a good matchup. The San Francisco 49ers are 31st versus the rush. They say McCoy, he's the closest thing to Barry Sanders since he's retired. And then, last week against the Los Angeles Rams, 150 rushing yards. Like, McCoy, with no Sammy Watkins, marginal wide receivers, the read option with Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy is by far my favorite running back for week 6, and I will have him in every single lineup that I put out this week, unless some news come out about some injuries. So that's that. And then my second favorite running back is DeMarco Murray for 8,800. I know he's expensive, but he's my favorite running back. Last 2 games, 25 plus carries. Let's see, the Cleveland Browns are 20th versus the run. Tennessee don't really have no dynamic wide receivers, so they look to run the ball a lot. And with Mariota, they could do some read options. So definitely DeMarco Murray, and with his price being 8,800, I think that makes him a good GPP play also, because a lot of people they get scared away with them high price tags. But McCoy and Murray, I think I have both of them as running backs in every single lineup I'm putting out on FanDuel as well as DraftKings. I think both of those guys are in great spots. Now, I had a few value and sleeper picks for running back on FanDuel. It's kind of hard to find value on FanDuel, but Theo Riddick for 6,600, I think he's a possible good play. Let me see. Oh, yeah, the Rams, they're 28th versus the rush. And we saw what LaShawn McCoy did to the Rams last week. So if they say he's kind of questionable right now, but if Theo Riddick plays, I think he's a good value play. And if for some reason he's out, the Lions just signed Justin Forsett. He's a good sneaky value play at 4,900. So whoever you feel is going to get the bulk of the rushing attempts or the bulk of the plays for the Detroit Lions at running back, I think you need to look at them for value and also as a sleeper play. Then I also have Artis Payne for the Carolina Panthers. That's only if Jonathan Stewart sits out. I like Artis Payne. When the Falcons played the Saints, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman went off on the Saints. So it seems like they struggle to cover the running back position. And on Monday night, Artis Payne had 18 rushing attempts for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 20.5 fantasy points. So if Jonathan Stewart sits out again, definitely I think Artis Payne is great value, great value, a great value play at the running back position. Now quarterback, I already told y'all about my 2 favorite, Drew Brees, Cam Newton. if Cam Newton sits out Derek Anderson. But the three that I wrote down for FanDuel as value and sleeper plays, Alex Smith for 6,800. I think he's a real interesting play. And I got to give a shout out to, one of the subscribers, somebody in the Facebook group that I just met earlier this week. I believe his name is Jamel Smith. He kind of pointed it out to me about the Alex Smith play. When you look at Oakland's defense and how they're ranked towards the bottom in all defensive categories, I mean, on FanDuel, they're 32nd overall, they're 32nd versus the pass, and they're 27th versus the rush. So somebody like Alex Smith, he's a great value play as well as sleeper play. Now, I'm not going to have the guts to do it, but if you're making like 4, maybe 5 lineups, Alex Smith, stack him with either Travis Kelce or who's there now? Yeah, Travis Kelce or Jeremy Maclin. I think that could be a good sneaky play. So yeah, shout out to Jamel. I believe that's his name. He pointed it out to me, and when I think about it, it is a good GPP play. So Alex Smith, Brock Osweiler. I'm not saying do that, but like if you really believe in Hopkins and the Colts, their defense is so bad. Osweiler is a good sleeper play. I'm not even going to say value because I don't even think he that good. But as a sleeper play, Brock Osweiler for 6,900. And of course, if they say Cam Newton is out for this week, man, Derek Anderson is the ultimate value play. $5,000, I'm doing it. I'm taking that chance. So that's it for the quarterback as far as value and sleeper plays. I'm going to just quickly talk about some of these top quarterbacks. Tom Brady, I don't want any exposure to him. I know he did good, but, I'm fading him. I just don't think he's a good GPP play. Of course, he may have a good game, but I'm looking for other players who would be owned at a lower percentage for GPPs. Matt Ryan, I'm fading him this week. I can't do it. He got a good price of $7,600, but not against the Seattle's defense. Ben Roethlisberger, he's a good play, but pay attention to that weather in Miami. Because even though the matchup is good, if the weather is windy or something, Ben Roethlisberger would have a bad game. And it wouldn't be because it's a bad play. It's just the environment factors of the stadium. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not interested in him. I didn't really look into him too much, but he may do something. Derek Carr, again, I have concerns about that cornerback, Peters. So, I'm staying away from Derek Carr. Let's see. Is there anybody else? Marcus Mariota. I think he's a good play also with his rushing ability. He's one of the top fantasy performers at quarterback on week 5. I want to shout out to somebody else. What's his name? Martin or Hardy, DFS Express. Y'all probably see him in the Facebook group. He talked about Mariota. He was telling me about Mariota last week, and he was right on that. Mariota was a good play. I think he's in another good position on this week. And the last quarterback I want to talk about is Russell Wilson. I know some of y'all look at the Falcons' numbers and see that the Falcons aren't that good defensively, but I wouldn't play Russell Wilson this week. And my reason is the Falcons' head coach is Dan Quinn. If you know about football, you know Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, before he came to the Falcons. So that familiarity, he knows how Russell Wilson plays. He got some familiarity with the team. So I think that's going to bode well and be to the advantage of the Falcons. And at a price tag of $8,400, I think Russell Wilson is a good fade. I may be wrong, but I don't like Russell Wilson this week. I think Dan Quinn may know a little bit about what defensive plays to stop Russell Wilson or contain him. And the tight end position. My favorite tight end for this week on FanDuel is going to be Delaney Walker of the Tennessee Titans. Now, with the Tennessee Titans, Walker is Mariota's favorite target. Statistically, he's his favorite target. the wide receivers don't even really do much. He looks for Walker, when he's trying to pass the ball. And then just consider this factor. Look at what Martellus Bennett did, what kind of game he had against the Browns. It shows that they're vulnerable against the tight ends. And with Walker being one of the top tight ends, he's my favorite play. I think I have him in every lineup. I have him in my lineups except the Cam Newton one where I'm stacking Greg Olsen. But Delanie Walker at 6,700, favorite tight end by far this week. I'm not picking Bennett. Bennett was good last week, but I don't know if he's going to do the same thing this week. Edelman might go off or Gronkowski might go off. Then his ownership is going to be higher. So I'm fading Bennett. It's all about Delanie Walker for me. Greg Olsen, he's also a great play. His price tag is high. He had a good game Monday night. 181 receiving yards, 13 targets. And that was with Derek Anderson as the quarterback. So if you feel me with that Derek Anderson play, stack him up with Greg Olsen. That's what I'm doing. And if you feel me with the Cam Newton play, stack him up with Greg Olsen. That's what I'm doing. So those are my two favorite, Delanie Walker and Greg Olsen. Jimmy Graham is also in a good spot against my Falcons, but I'm not playing him this week. And, Corey Fleener of the New Orleans Saints. I think he got good value. Let me see. 5,600 on Fanduel. I believe he might be like 3,500 on DraftKings. But Fleener, that whole game, just the environment of it, if it's anything like it was last year, a 41-38 final total score. Just look at the game last year. It's going to be a lot of offense. So Fleener, great value. And you could even stack him up with Drew Brees if you are all about the stack life. I'm doing Brees and Thomas, but Fleener could be a viable option to save money and pay up in other positions. And Travis Kelce, like I mentioned, the Oakland Raiders are like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Travis Kelce is a legit tight end, so he'll definitely be a good sneaky play. He's probably an even better GPP play than Delanie Walker, but they playing at the black hole. Home field advantage is real in the NFL. So I'm going with the home quarterback. The home tight end in Delanie Walker. I like him this week. So that's my take on tight end. Team defenses. The Falcons did pretty good last week, but I had the Bills in my lineup that scored 172, and they were the best defense last week on FanDuel. But this week, I like the Tennessee Titans. I think they're a good defense because whether it's Kessler or Whitehurst, I think the Titans are in a good position to put up good points as far as the team defense. But, I struggle with team defenses, so, I kind of just go with a feel. Another team defense that I'm going to play a lot, it's a sneaky play, but I think it might work for me. I know y'all going to disagree with this one. The Detroit Lions at home versus the Los Angeles Rams. I just don't believe in, the Rams quarterback play with, Case Keenum. They don't have any receivers. And the Bills were the best defense as far as fantasy points on FanDuel. And they played against the Rams. And that was at the Rams Stadium. Now, this same team is going on the road. So, although, the Lions have only averaged 5 fantasy points per game for their team defense as a GPP play, I definitely like the Lions this week as a team defense. But overall, I would just say the Tennessee Titans are my favorite defense. Initially, I did like the Buffalo Bills, but when it was announced that Colin Kaepernick starting, it kind of just swayed me away from that. And kicker, Adam Vinatieri, he's proven to be the best kicker. So far, he's first in field goals made, first in 50-yard field goals, first in 49-yard field goals made. The game is in a place where you don't have to worry about the weather in Houston. So Adam Vinatieri, high price at 5,200, but I think he's a great play at kicker. And if you don't pick Vinatieri, definitely pay attention when you pick your kicker. Just like a kicker can win a game in the NFL, like they did on that guy from Tampa on Monday night, a kicker can win you money on this daily fantasy. Don't forget about the kicker. They're important. But I think Adam Vinatieri is definitely a safe play, and he's proven that he's been good through the first 5 weeks of the season. So that's about it for my GPP strategy for this week for FanDuel. To recap, I want to build it around two stacks. Well, it's one game I focus on. The Panthers at the Saints. I'm focused on two stacks. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. Or Drew Brees and anybody you feel, but I'm doing Michael Thomas. And then the other stack is going to be from Carolina. Either Cam Newton and Greg Olsen or Derek Anderson and Greg Olsen. Running back all day. LaShawn McCoy, DeMarco Murray. DeAndre Hopkins is my favorite wide receiver this week. I also like Jarvis Landry, depending on the weather. A great value play is Chris Conley, in my opinion. Tight end, I love Delaney Walker, but Travis Kelce is also a good play. I'm not really messing with the Patriots tight ends, or Martellus Bennett, but again, Delaney Walker, that's my favorite play. Adam Vinatieri, it goes without saying, he's my favorite kicker. And team defenses, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I seem to always get it wrong. But, I like the Lions as a sneaky play, and I think Tennessee is probably the team defense in the best spot. Quickly, I just want to give my quick insight on DraftKings. Let me go to my DraftKings lineup. This video getting kind of long. Now, for DraftKings, the pricing is just so different. So you can find value in so many different ways because the pricing is so different. So I got one lineup for DraftKings right now, and the stack is totally different. My stack is Marcus Mariota and Delaney Walker. That's what I'm building around based on the pricing. My running backs, DraftKings, I like it the same way, McCoy and Murray. Receivers, everything else is pretty much the same. But, I'm about to hurry up and finish this video. Value and sleeper plays for DraftKings. Wide receiver, Michael Thomas, 4,300. Meredith for Chicago, 4,100. Devontae Adams for Green Bay, 3,900. Philly Brown for Carolina for 3,600. Chris Conley for Kansas City, 3,100. And Brandon LaFell for Cincinnati, 3,200. Running back positions, value and sleeper plays. Whitaker for 4,300 of Carolina. Artis Payne also for Carolina for 3,700. And Carlos Hyde for 5,100. Quarterbacks, Brian Hoyer for 5,800. Alex Smith for 5,700. And Marcus Mariota for 6,100. Tight ends, Martellus Bennett for 4,500. Travis Kelce for 5,000. Jeremy Graham for 4,900. And Corey Fleener for 3,500. Those are all my value and sleeper plays for DraftKings. I'm still working on trying to get better at DraftKings, but I'm going to just try this Marcus Mariota and Delaney Walker stack and, build my plays around that. So, kind of went a little long today, but that's my whole strategy for my GPP lineup strategies for FanDuel as well as DraftKings for this week. As always, before I put this video to a close, thank you to everyone who's taken the time out to view this video today. Thank you for everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thanks for all the comments and all the likes. And thanks for everyone who's following on social media through all the sites. Just search hashtag BeTheBestDFS and you'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on this YouTube channel. Again, I hope this video is helpful to all you guys playing DFS this week. If you really just want to line up for me, if you need more, if the video is not enough, I'm offering the lineup assistance for week 6. $5. I send you out a strong quality GPP lineup and give you advice on how to, make it better. And if you really feeling me and want to get down for the rest of the season, $25 for the lineup assistance. I'll make sure I provide you with a lineup every week to the end of the season. But that's about it. Overall, I'm continuing to progress each week on FanDuel. Still gotta try to work on getting better in DraftKings. But overall, I'm just thankful. Just counting, the victories as blessings. And all the support I'm getting is definitely a blessing as well. The growth of this brand. I definitely appreciate y'all for continuing to support me. And I'm going to continue to just try to work hard at this. But yeah, man, the video is super long. So I'm just going to put it to a close. Try to be the best this week. And I hope y'all win some money. And just try to be the best. All right, I'm out.